Hey guys, Eebworld here, and I love PlayStation.
Stop that!
Who said that?
That doesn't matter right now. What's important right now is you should play Gravity Rush.
Did you just say Gravity Rush? I will play Gravity Rush. Well, looks like I have something to talk about. Hey look, it's my first video game video this season. I've played Gravity Rush and let me just say, it's cool. The game is pretty unique and fun. I never really planned on playing this game, but I did, and I feel like it's really worth talking about.
Gravity Rush is out on the PS Vita and the PS4. It initially came out on February 12, 2012. Wait, 2012? How is this game 10 years old? Well, it's not 10 on the PS4 as it came out in 2015 in Japan. The rest of the world had to wait another year, which is unfortunate, but this was a time where global releases weren't absolute. But eventually, the world is slowly getting used to that. I said slowly. Now this is a pretty cool game in terms of gameplay.
I bet you can't guess the main gimmick of the game.
The developers probably looked at Mario Galaxy and were like, dang, we should make a game all about gravity. Thus, this game was born. So there are a couple of things to consider in terms of movement. Basic movement goes from walking, or technically running, jumping, attacking, and dodging. All of these movements are self-explanatory, as if you've ever played a PlayStation adventure game, they tend to have those controls for the most part. However, this is where things start to gravitate towards funky.
Get it? Gravitate, gravity, whatever.
Gravity is the main focus of the game. I mean, it's in the title. There are two different modes of gravity shifting in this game. The most common one you'll see throughout the whole game is the floating one. When you're floating, you have a couple of options you can do here. You can fall towards one direction, and if you press the cross button, you can fall towards that direction faster.
You know, normally I would say the X button, but I wanted to call it cross this one time because it just sounds so goofy. I mean, it is a cross after all.
You can attack when you're floating, and it kind of works like when you fall towards a direction. The only difference is you aren't going to be attacking forever, as Kat, the protagonist's name by the way, will end up stopping if she doesn't hit anything. Normally when you're floating and an enemy is nearby, it will show this target around them that if you attack, she will auto aim to the target. Pretty good way of having the attack mechanic work in gravity mode. You also have the option to dodge while floating. Now the second mode is much more limited in terms of choices, but it has its uses. This mode is called Gravity Slide, and it's somewhat pretty self-explanatory. It's more useful for when you try to move fast on the ground rather than the air. In this mode, all you can really do other than sliding is jump. Yeah, there is no real need to use this, but it's just so much fun when you can surf on land like this. Now there is one more thing related to gravity, but I won't really call it its own mode. This move lets you make some sort of gravity field around you and can carry things this way. Some missions require you to do that, as you will be transporting people from one part of the map to the other. There's also the special attack, which is stronger than the normal moves, and it can't be spammed. When you have a pink circle in the middle of the gravity gauge, that will mean that the special is ready. There are multiple specials you can have, with my favorite being the one where Kat just throws a bunch of rocks. Now there's one important feature, the level up mechanic. It's mainly there to help you throughout the game. I'll tell you, this game can get hard for no reason, especially when the camera wants to act on its own sometimes. I didn't say this game was perfect. You use gems to level up, which is pretty much the coins of this game. It makes parts of this game much easier, so you should definitely do that while you're at it. I'd say the world is well made for a game like this. The size works well and it isn't very cramped. You can literally gravity fall from one end to the other, and it would feel so nice doing that. I just love how well it works with the movement options you have. If you want to get from one location to the other without using gravity, have no fear as manholes exist. These are like your quick travel locations, and it definitely helps if you want to finish the game quickly. But apart from the main story, you have side missions littered across the whole map. So there's a bunch of content to spend your time on. I didn't because I wanted to play the second game before I became very busy.
Oh, don't worry, I have a lot of things to talk about for the second game in the next video.
there are different towns you would go to, and as I said, apart from the story, the only other reason you would go there is for the side missions. I played the remastered version on the PS4, and let me tell you, you can see a bit of the visa's limitations. But even so, the map looks very pretty. It shows how much better this game could look if they spent the time to make it look like a PS4 title. But other than that, you got some levels that you would only go through during the story and that's it. They also are well made as they look so trippy, yet they fit the gravity theme very well. I am so glad that this game came out the way it did, because now this is a PlayStation title I think everyone must play. I'd say the music is painfully average. Nothing feels too bopping, apart from that one place that has a whole jazz performance going on. When I first got to this location, I was like, wait, since when can the OST get this crazy? I don't really think there are many memorable tracks though. I wish there were, but it just ain't so. The song I mentioned seems to be a favorite among others, because if you search for it on YouTube, you can definitely tell that people remember it. So the story. Ah yes, the first game with a story in Season 4 of Eebworld. A game like this has a pretty alright story, I guess. It's not too difficult to understand, but it's also pretty all over the place. So it starts off with our main protagonist, Kat, unconscious. She kind of forgot why she was on the floor and what she was doing, but then her companion Dusty comes and she discovers that Dusty gives her gravity powers. You find out the city is floating, and not only that, but it's also split apart. So it's Kat's duty to make sure the city is in good shape, since she's the only one who can gravity shift.
What's that? She isn't? Then who else can?
Raven!
You said Raven?
Yes! Alright, so I just got word that there's another character with this power named Raven. She kinda is important to the story, but that's for later. You meet a dude named Sid. He's a cop. He's cool, but most importantly, he pretty much sends Kat to do all his work. Long story short, there are these things called Nevi that are enemies. They infest a lot of the world in this game, so Kat pretty much destroys them to protect the cities. She has to fight some super Nevi along the way, which are like people who are controlled by Nevi. It's somewhat unsettling. For the most part, Kat was viewed as a bad person because she has the power of gravity, but people decided to trust her after a while, and then they relied on her. Wow, can't you ever be thankful? She meets some old man named Gade, who is another guy who tells her to do stuff. He's like Kat's guardian. You do stuff and kinda just waste time. Before that, or maybe after, I don't remember, you meet a guy named Elias. He's somewhat the main villain of this game. He stole a gem and later you see him in your dreams. Kat has a fight with Raven for some reason, and then they become cool with each other. Some dude dropped his suitcase down some hole. So you go investigate, but then you end up getting trapped by some mean and scary kids. Apparently Raven's been taking care of them and they've been abandoned ever since the city split up. You end up getting them out of there, and then when you get back to the surface, Bootleg Shido becomes a dictator. He unleashes some Amino Sagiri looking robot Nevi thingy, but his plan fails. And that's the very scuffed version of this story. Hope you enjoyed this explanation. I know I skipped a lot, but hear me out.
I was too lazy to remember any of this, but the important thing is that they all lived happily ever after. Until the sequel.
Graphics wise, this game is decent. It's much different from many PlayStation exclusive titles, and I wish there were more games like this. If you know me, you know that I'm a sucker for cel shaded graphics. So when you have a console that can have less limitations than a Nintendo one, I would wish that more games have aesthetics like this. It's kind of funny to say this, but graphics are indeed a factor that was appealing to me, other than the whole idea being around gravity, which isn't super common.
Gravity Rush is a must-play if you have a PlayStation console that can play it. It's a shame that we don't know if there will be a new one for the PS5. Like, just imagine how great of a game it will be. I can only imagine. It's a great game for what it is. I was really trying not to include the second game because the second game improves on a lot of things the first game was only a write on. But if you mainly want to focus on the story, then play both games. It makes things make a lot of sense that way. This game reminds me of PS2 type games, so it had a pretty positive experience overall. Especially now because games nowadays go for the same things. So you know what? I'll consider this game one of my favorite PlayStation titles. Now, why the heck did they include Cat in PlayStation All-Stars?